MBAs from esteemed institutions such as IIM Calcutta and Manchester Business School. Mr. Santosh has spent close to 18 years in the industry. He has managed large business units across India, USA, UK and Singapore in the past. Currently, Santosh is serving as the CEO of Fitans Bioengineering, leading a team of polymer scientists, food scientists and technologists to create a sustainable solution to eliminate single-use plastics. His work showcases his commitment towards developing social responsibility solutions that address pressing environmental issues. May I request Mr. Santosh Nagaswamy to present his paper.
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm not going to present paper so much as to speak about a way we can combat microplastics. So, the people say good things come in small packages, but I think sometimes not so good things come in even smaller packages. And that's what I'm here to talk about. My name is Santosh Nagaswamy, and I'm here to talk about the small but extremely significant world of microplastics. So before I can get into microplastics, let's understand plastics. Change is plasticity. Now, humans have a very interesting relationship with change. Now, humans are extremely terrified of change. At the same time, if we don't have change in our lives, we start feeling very stagnated. So what then are the motivators for us to bring about change in our lives? So it's pain, inspiration, desire, and ambition. Either we have to be heard enough that we have to change, we have to see enough that we are inspired to change, we have to learn enough that we want to change, or we receive enough that we are able to change. Now, can we apply this plasticity, the ability to adapt and change in our relationship to plastics? Let's explore that for a sustainable future. Now, we have some clear lessons from the past. We have had some amazing products like lead, asbestos, DDT, and CFCs, which added tremendous value in the modern human life. But they came with their own set of problems. Entrepreneurs and scientists are sometimes very eager to bring about products and launch them into the market. But sometimes they are misused or overused, which lead to deep-rooted issues which could cause problems in human health, way of life, sometimes carcinogens, and it becomes extremely difficult for them to control these products and eliminate them from circulation. Now, this has happened in the past, actually. As we all know, lead was extremely widely used in paints. Asbestos was one of the most versatile, heat-absorbing construction material that was used. DDT was widely used in agriculture as a pesticide, and CFCs were used in aerosols in every refrigerant and coolant technologies in the world. But within about 20 to 30 years of their use, people started realizing, scientists and communities started realizing their toxicity, their carcinogenic properties, and other problems to the human welfare. Now, one of the products also almost eliminated the way of our life because of ozone depletion. So communities, organizations, governments, all of us had to come together to finally eliminate or severely regulate the use of these materials. And they did that very successfully in the past. Most of these products are not used today at all. Now, this is something we have to learn from, because we are probably at the crossroads with plastics in a very similar fashion. Plastics was the goal of the 50s, but it was a goal because it could be used in everything. It was extremely versatile. But now it is in everything. Now, I wanted to explore this further. I wanted to understand how many items in a day-to-day life do I touch that is made of plastic. Now, what I wanted to do was take a photograph of every product that I touch if it's made of plastic. But to be honest, it was overwhelming. I couldn't do it. Within 2 hours, I probably touched about 50 things made of plastic. I just kept taking photographs, and I got back busy with work, and I just lost track. Luckily for me, there was a scientist in Canada who decided to do the exact same thing, and she's a scientist, so she documented it very well. And this was the result. In one day, these are all the products that she touched which are made of plastic. Right? Let that image sink in for a minute. Now, I'm sure if we go back home and if you, I'll turn the laptop around. So if we actually go back home and we see all the items that are made of plastic, if we start documenting them, we'll realize that we'll be probably in the same number. Hundreds of things that we use, it's almost everything. All our clothes that we wear is made of plastic. So there's a product that I want to launch from our company and it uses cotton fibers in the product. What I understand is the cotton what we get today is not cotton, it's polycotton, right? And polycotton has about 2 to 5% of plastic in it. Now that's interesting because it passes all the compostability norms because it's 90% compostable, right? So it passes. So what happens to the remaining 2%? It goes into the air, into landfill, into water, and it becomes microplastics. We'll wait for the slide to come back on. Now, when I was putting this slide together, I realized that this reminded me of a story. Can you hear me without the mic? It reminded me of a story of King Midas. I think all of us are familiar with the golden touch of King Midas. So whatever he touched turned to gold. Plastic was the gold of the 50s, and now everything we touch is plastic. That's the interesting thing for me. But the mythical King Midas had a way out. He could denounce his wish. Can we do the same? But the bigger question is, do we really have to denounce plastic? Now that's something we need to ask ourselves. Plastics has revolutionized the way we live in the modern world. In healthcare, communication, transportation, construction, even up to food safety and energy safety, plastics has helped us live the life that we live today. It's indispensable. We cannot get rid of plastic. And neither should we get rid of plastic because it is extremely useful in our life. But there is a dark side to plastics. And that's where we get into the world of microplastics. Now, by definition, microplastics are any plastic particles less than 5 millimeters in dimension. Now, microplastics could be primary, that is, it was created less than 5 millimeters for its intended use, or it could be secondary, that it breaks down in natural conditions to become less than 5 millimeters. But either way, most of the plastic pollution that we see is not the real problem for us. We see all this, the great Pacific garbage patch. We see lots of plastics floating in water. We see landfills. We see garbage dumps. But 90% of pollution actually is microplastics. It isn't plastics. So I wanted to find out, I can see the plastic, I can deal with it, right? But what about the plastic that I can't see? I mean, what are the innocuous products that we use in today's world? What of them contains plastic? So what I found was extremely unsettling for me, because right from table salt that we use every day, to bottled water, to honey, to beer, seafood, the surface of fruits and vegetables, tap water, including the air that we breathe today has microplastics in it. Not only the outdoor air, even indoors. There are traces of microplastics found in air which is indoor. Now let that sink in for a minute. What does that mean for us as humans? How do we then survive in today's world, right? The plastic that we see, the plastic waste that we see is just the tip of the iceberg. The bigger problem is that we can't see it. Now, let's get into the dark side of microplastics. Now, what is this? What does all this mean to me? Plastics is everywhere, yes. Now, what does it mean? The extent of plastic pollution is staggering. Studies have shown that we as humans, on an average, consume anywhere between 5 to 7 grams of microplastics a week. That means a credit card that you hold, the weight of the credit card is the same as the amount of microplastics that we consume on a weekly basis. Now that's extremely difficult for us to imagine, right? Now what does this mean? Over the last few years, a lot of research has been done to see the implication of microplastics. They have drawn various fluids, tissue samples, and tried to see whether they contain microplastics or not. It has permeated every level of our lives. Blood, urine, feces, breast milk, placenta samples, lung tissue, liver tissue, kidney tissues, all of these have microplastic in it. Now, to be honest, the long-term effects of microplastic is not really known to us. We don't know. We don't know what it's doing to us. There is some basic evidence that it affects the endocrine system of the human body, which means it affects the way our hormones are released and the way we interact with the known world. But it's not clear. We don't know what's happening. Does it mean that it's hopeless? Does this mean that we have no hope? No, there still is hope. And now lots of increased awareness because of social media, because of technology, public outrage has put a lot of pressure on governments, on corporations to take actions to reverse this, to stop it, and then eventually reverse it. Now, global policies have changed. We experienced the July 1st ban last year, right? All of a sudden, there was no single-use plastics in India. Now, organizations have made a tremendous shift. They want eco-friendly products. They want sustainable products. Now, I've been working with big brands. I won't name them, but I've been working with some very big brands, very global brands, who are desperate to change and get rid of their single-use plastics. Now, there is also some organizations which have dedicated their effort to building new technology to remove plastic waste from the oceans. Right? There are some scientists, entrepreneurs working on biodegradable polymers that is going to revolutionize sustainable plastics. There's also companies like Steer. We have this dome outside that if all of you would have seen coming in. Now, if you haven't gone inside that, I would urge you to go inside, because that's a revolutionary product they have created there. They've created a compact, a modular device which can sterilize and compact communal plastic and make pellets out of which can then be used for downstream application to make pipes, furniture, etc. So that's an Indian innovation that we all have to support. So organizations like this have done some wonderful things. Governments, scientists, businesses, entrepreneurs, we've all gotten together and now are working towards a sustainable future. So there is still hope, and there is a way for us to move forward. So we know that I spoke about change right in the beginning. So pain, inspiration, desire, and ambition. This is in green. I know you can't see it on the screen, but the top three have been marked in green because we have experienced pain in the past, we have been inspired, and we have a deep desire to change. It's very clear. Lots of things are happening now. But the ambition part, how do we stoke these embers? How do we light the fire to make it burn? How do we enable people to do what they want to do? There is some serious lessons that we learned. Now, I run a company called Phytons Bioengineering. Now, there are some serious lessons that we learned from Phytons. 3.5 years ago, we came up with a groundbreaking invention. We made a novel molecule that didn't exist in the world before. Right? Now, that groundbreaking invention was not enough. It wasn't enough to shake the world. We thought, okay, yes, we solved the problem. We can go eliminate plastics. But no, there were huge barriers to enter. People were not able to understand this product. They were so used to the existing ecosystem of plastics, the way it was working. They didn't have any incentive to change. If they wanted to change, they had to invest in the infrastructure. They couldn't do that. There were huge barriers to enter. A plastic machine costs depending on what downstream application you want to do, it costs about a couple of crores. Right? Now, if you want to build the infrastructure to house that machine, it costs tens of crores. That's a barrier to enter. Right? How do we allow people to now to come into the industry without having to suffer these exorbitant expenses? Now that leads to delayed ROI. Now, if I want to get an investor on board, he has to pay about 20 crores just to see if a product works. No one's going to do that. Right? How do we now overcome that barrier? The IP, the tech, and the market is completely siloed today. Now you have the IP, the polymer scientists working on a great invention on the left, and you have the application development scientists working on a great product on the right. They don't talk to each other. The technology in between doesn't exist to enable them to talk to each other. How do we then create something which will get all these communities, all these wonderful people who are working on all these products to talk and innovate together? That's something which we have to think about. There is no grassroots level connection. Now, the end user needs very simple things. He needs sustainability, he or she needs economic viability, and they need minimal disruption. Sustainability is in terms, it has to be sustainable as in following the sustainability development goals in that way. It has to be scalable. It has to be able to reach out to the masses. Economic viability, it has to be profitable for the manufacturer to make it. Also should be cheap enough for the consumer to buy it. You shouldn't have to pay the green premium that right now people are demanding. Minimal disruption. The value chain has already taken a beating. 80,000 factories have shut down after July 1st in India. What are those factories going to do? I don't want to do something which will disrupt the supply chain even more, the value chain even more. I want to enable everybody who already are working in this industry. Now, minimal disruption also means the end user should not have to change the way they work, because they will not change the way they use the product. They want the U-bend straw just the way the U-bend straw is today. I'm using the word U-bend straw because that's a problem I faced. If I change it a little bit, they say, no. This is not good for me. I want it exactly in this shape and in this dimension. It has to fit the bottle. It has to reach the end. So it has to be exactly the same. If it is a little flexible, they say, no, this won't work. So they're not willing to change in terms of the end user application as well. So there is a serious gap in the last mile. How do we bridge? This is the important question, right? How do we bridge the gap between intent, innovation, and impact? That's a serious question that we need to ask ourselves. We at Phytons are working towards what I call the Phytons ecosystem. We want to enable everybody who has an interest in working towards a sustainable future in the world of polymers. Anything, in any area they want to work, whether they have skill, they have capital, they have resources, they have existing infrastructure, but they're unable to move towards sustainable plastic. We at Phytons are working towards creating that. Right from biomaterials, process development, ancillary services, finished products, marketplace, and institutional alliances, we have already done the groundwork. Right now, we want to create this ecosystem so people can come, plug, and be efficient and profitable right from the get-go. What are we doing? We want to eliminate barriers to enter. We want to create a support system for enable creation of end-use applications, enable economies of scale right from the get-go. You don't have to do it big. You don't have to spend 20 crores to create a product. You can start innovating small, but we will give you the economies of scale. And empowering through technology. We create the technology to connect everything, connect the marketplace, use blockchain, use all the new age, cutting edge technology to give you the credibility for you to achieve what you want. That's what we want to do at Phytons. And we're not alone. We are doing it because lots of people are thinking the same, they're doing the same things. But we have gone through the grind for the last 3.5 years, and we reached the place now where we can help other people reach with us. I think one message is very clear. I've been doing this for a while, and the message is very clear that we can't do this alone. We need to collaborate. We need to work together. All of us have to come together towards this common goal. We all want to do it, but we have to do it together. And which is why collaboration is the key for us to change. Together we can make the difference, not alone. I can solve maybe 1/10 of the problem by myself, but that is not a solution that we want. We want all of us to work together, solve the entire problem in its entirety. So I'll leave you at the end with one last thought. Reduce, reuse, recycle has been used from the 80s. It's a mantra which has been very effective and extremely important for us to consider the way we interact with polymers. But I think it has outlived and gone beyond its use. What we need to do now is add 3 additional R's. We need to rethink, redesign, and all of us need to rally, because change is the only key to survival. Thank you. Any questions? Sorry, any questions?
But actually, what is the status of these microplastics in India?
So it is permeated everywhere.
No, but in India, anybody's blood or this liver, anybody was
So
found?
the sample size for this, the study that I talked about, is from all over the world. It's not. So just to answer your question in a different way, from the deepest areas of Marina Trench to the unoccupied areas of Arctic snow, for example, they found traces of microplastic. So it is not question of whether it is there in India or not. It is there everywhere. So the way the microplastics work is it is so small that it gets carried with water from the ocean. it reaches the atmosphere and falls down as rain, and it starts permeating. So even if there's microplastic pollution happening in far US, for example, we are not separate from it. We are all connected. Which is why all of us, no matter where we are, we need to come together to make this change. That's long and short. Yes, please. Sorry? I think there is a lot of effort already being made. Right? We have lots of polymers which are now look and feel like plastic. They are not plastic. So we have to, and countries have already come together to make these bans on single-use plastic. Now what we need to do as end consumers, it depends on whether you're asking a question from an end consumer point of view, or an organization, or a government point of view, right? Or an institution like CIPET. End consumer, you have to know what you buy, number one. For example, I don't drink bottled water anymore. That's a very small but extremely significant, I'm using the same title, but a very small and significant change that I have made in my life. Because I recently working with some polymer scientists who I saw this gentleman, and we're all drinking out of these very nice distillery bottles, and he's like, no, give me tap water. It's in some remote place in India. I asked him, why are you doing this? Right? Isn't that unhealthy? It's like, I look at this water under the microscope. I know what's in the bottled water, right? And I wouldn't do this to myself. If I fall in with some bacterial infection, it's still far better than getting microplastics in, which I don't know what it is. So I think as an end consumer, these small changes will make us very big impact. And initially, we might have to be okay to pay a 20% green premium on sustainable polymers. That's something which we have to understand. I've been trying to get clothes which don't have plastic in it. I've failed. Right? Everything right now which is commercially, except I have to wear a kurta and come here to talk. I thought about it, but I was like, no. So unfortunately, I'm wearing plastic while I'm talking about microplastics. So these are some changes which we have to come. So one of the things which we do at FITENS, I know I don't want to talk about FITENS, but this is critical. We focus on end-use application development. We don't focus on just the polymers. We want to get into the end use. We want to understand from the ground level, what are the products that have microplastics? How can I design the products to look and feel like a nice suit, but they don't have microplastics in it? So that's something which we want to get. I hope that answers your question. Anything else?
I think with the paucity of time, we should be ending your talk at this point.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.
Now I request Dr. Anandan to present, to honor our speaker, Mr. Nagasamy, with the memento.
Offer this moment to the speaker.
Thank you so much.
The next speaker is here, Arun Kumar Chandrasekhar.